It's a well-known fact that the best value GW products are the starter boxes. When you consider that this one model can come in at around about 2/5 of the price of the Age of Sigmar starter box, then that is quite outrageous. So to squeeze out the most value that you possibly can, you're going to want to do as many conversions with the models in the starter box as possible and buy as few of these kind of kits as you possibly can. So what I'm going to show you right now is how to use the spare parts from one of these kits to make the Knight Azyros here. First thing you'll want to do is build the Knight Venator, or Venator, and there he is, in all his glory, with his little bird and everything. All the correct pieces used, and now I'm going to show you which pieces were left over in this process. So the leftover pieces from the Knight Azyros / Knight Venator kit that I'm going to be using: the sword arm, the arm that holds the lantern itself, his little headdress thing that rests on the top of his head, and this shoulder pad. We're not going to be using his head because the model we're going to use already has a perfectly serviceable head. The model we're going to use is right here. This is the Prosecutor Prime from the Age of Sigmar box, and as you can see, his head is already attached, so it would take a little bit of effort to chop that off and use the provided head for the Knight Venator. So the first thing I'm going to mention is the fact that we're going to stick this little headdress on top of there. The hole at the back doesn't match up perfectly with this piece, so there's going to have to be a small amount of cutting there to fit that in, but it's not going to be too difficult at all. And then that should look fine when it's resting atop his head, like so. There are two reasons that I chose the Prosecutor Prime as the model for this. One is because his wings are slightly more grand than the other Prosecutors, so he's going to look a bit more special. And also, if I get a second Age of Sigmar box, then I'll be able to take the two regular Prosecutors and add them to the first squad, so I would have a unit of 5 with 1 Prime in it, which sounds about right. Now, if you're not adding any other kits, if you're just using the Knight Venator spare parts and the Age of Sigmar box, you will run into a slight bit of trouble here, because these are his arms. And since we only have one shoulder pad to work with, we would need to start hacking these arms into pieces to get the shoulder pad off. But we're not going to have that problem because I had a box of Judicators, and in that box you get a spare shoulder pad with a little lightning hammer symbol on it there. So we're going to use that as his second shoulder pad, along with this one, which will allow us to use the 2 arms that we want to use without too much fuss. The only minor issue will be, I don't know if you can see here, but there's a little nib there on the inside of this arm that will need to be cut down so it'll fit snugly against the shoulder. Because obviously all the Stormcast miniatures are to the same perfect scale, then all the pieces are generally compatible. The other issue, of course, is that you don't get a second base in the box, and the base for the Knight Azyros / Knight Venator is actually slightly larger than the Prosecutors, so I'm just using a base that I got on eBay in a big pack of them that I was using for some ogres. It's roughly the same size. It's about 1 millimeter larger than the base it comes with, so pretty damn close. And you could get a perfect match if you look a bit harder. So here are all the pieces we're going to use. So I'll get back to you when it's fully assembled and we can see exactly how it looks and whether it measures up to the real thing. So here he is, my finished Knight Azyros. There weren't too many troubles assembling it. I did have to cut off a little bit of that hairstyle he's got going on there to fit it with this head I wanted to use, but that wasn't too difficult at all. I think I've got it lined up just about straight now. Mildly tricky to sort that out. And then I had to cut off a little bit of the hair as well, so I could fit the wings on, because obviously those pieces weren't designed to go together in that way. So they did meet, and a little bit of snipping was required there. The rest of it was very, very easy indeed. If we look at him next to the official model, I actually think this one looks more dynamic. With the lantern, he's kind of moving forwards. I think that looks more exciting than the guy leaning back, which I think suits the bow much better. Leaning back firing a bow rather than leaning back with a lantern. If you look at him next to the Knight Venator, obviously his wings don't go as high, but I think it does make him look more mobile, like he's zooming into combat, whereas the Venator is more hanging back, firing off arrows. So I think it actually looks pretty damn tasty. So let me know what you guys think, and if you've attempted a similar conversion to this, any tips you've got for people that might want to do the same thing, who maybe have access to slightly different pieces. Also let me know if you've done any other conversions with the contents of the Age of Sigmar starter box. So with this I've just saved myself around about £20, so I think that's pretty good. Ta-ta, ladies and gentlemen.